Hello friends, good day. Welcome back. Thank you for your patience. I apologize for the absence. We are currently less than 140 days out from the big race in Texas. It is currently Friday, November 21st. It's approximately 8 p.m. Right after this recording, I'm heading outside to complete today's training session. I have an easy 12-kilometer on the block. I will not be addressing the absence. I will not be explaining why I was gone. Instead, I'm going to dive right into reflections on the weekend. The weekend spent in Köln with the Rapid team, the past few days, and specifically yesterday's medium long run, I should say. And that will be it for the video. I want to keep it brief. I want to keep it short, mainly because I want to record another video tonight when I return from today's session. And because, well, time reasons mainly. It's already 8:15. So let's kick things off. Last weekend, as I mentioned in the last video, I traveled to Köln on Saturday, about a week ago. Team-rappid had a few smaller media obligations. We had a friend and family film premiere of the Last Soul Ultra documentary series in a cinema. So a close circle of people and the production crew who are responsible for the film got together and watched the first 2 episodes of the series. Very, very good work. I was very impressed. It had a perfect blend of ambition and serious tone and good cinematography and great sound design, but also humor and personality. And it's especially humor and personality, those last 2 components, which I felt were missing so much in the BPN documentary. I'm gonna sip something. Hold on. My throat is acting up. Okay. Arrived on Saturday and was immediately faced with quite a few uncontrollables. As you know, I didn't sleep. Had an early flight, slept a little on the plane, but then immediately I learned I wasn't flying into Köln, I was flying into Düsseldorf, so I had to travel from Düsseldorf to Köln. Let me close this window actually, hold on. Excuse me. So, flying into Düsseldorf, not into Köln. Had to then travel with the train from Düsseldorf to Köln, which those of you who are German will know. The German railway system, the Deutsche Bahn, is exceptionally unreliable. Got to the hotel, but then at the hotel there was issues with the check-in. Apparently payments didn't go through. I still got a room, but when Aaron arrived, he wasn't even given a room until our boss from Rapid had to come and check us in manually. It was a whole thing. Nonetheless, the delay with the train and with the check-in, and then buying food for the weekend to have fuel to take with me on both of my long runs, because I do long runs back to back every single weekend. I do one on Saturday and I do one on Sunday. Just took a lot of time. And the film premiere was already at 5 p.m. By the time Aaron and I had finished an easy 10K, it was already past 4 p.m. So that was it for the day, at least for me. I had decided that when we come back from the film premiere and dinner, that Aaron and I could still run another 15K easy in the night. But the film premiere took quite a while, and then afterwards we all went together. Friends and family together went for dinner in this traditionally German restaurant. Conversation was good, food was good, but things just took a while, as they do. And I was slowly really dropping my energy. I was falling asleep at dinner. And by the time we got to the hotel rooms, I realized there's no point in pushing because I have another 40 plus kilometers to do tomorrow, and I need to catch up on some sleep. So that's what I did. Sunday, no media obligations, no rapid obligations, just training. Training went very, very well. I ran 43 kilometers. And the instructions given to me by Alyssa, mainly for the long run, were to take my fueling very, very seriously. On all of my long runs, essentially any long run or any run I do that is longer than an hour, I fuel now. And when I say I fuel, I mean I take a very specific amount of carbs. I consume a very specific amount of carbs after a specific amount of time. With the long runs, it's usually 40 grams of carbs an hour, starting at the 45-minute mark into the run. On Sunday was the first day during which I finally nailed my fueling almost flawlessly. On runs before, in the weeks before, I would dabble and I would consume stuff, but I wasn't really precise with documentation, and I didn't really. I was experimenting, but I wasn't really dialed in. This Sunday, last Sunday, things went perfectly, and I was glad. I was very, very glad. Alyssa was happy. Excuse me. And so I was happy too. Monday, and by we I mean Team-rappid, Kim, Pavel, Aaron, and I, got together in a big gym called Die Krafthalle in Köln, and we worked out while Eric and Alina, are friends from a production company who are now in charge of the creative side of Brand Rapid, essentially, filmed us while we were working out. The filming was mainly because of the Black Friday merch drop coming your way on November 28th. We have new pace caps and new colorways and such, and we needed footage. Workout went well. Now, the only issue is, and this is a reflection, I'm saying this more so to myself than I am to you. It was a high rock style workout, and I don't do any high rock style workouts. I also did a 43-kilometer run the day before, which isn't much of an excuse because Aaron ran 50K on Sunday. But I don't do any rowing. I don't do any skis. I don't do any wall balls. Most of what we did that day, sled pushes, I don't incorporate into my training. And so going into it, I knew I'd be, at least in terms of strength levels, I'd be the weakest. And then unfortunately, this was fucking embarrassing. Unfortunately, during the wall balls, my adductors, so the muscle, the musculature on the inside of your thighs, responsible for the adduction of your legs, were just seizing up, and I could no longer go. I could barely even hit 90 degrees in the squats, which is really, really embarrassing. Because on the footage in the back, you can see me doing the wall balls, but I couldn't go lower. Not because I generally can't, or because the ball was too heavy. It wasn't. It was just that my legs were giving up on me. I held my own. I tried my best, but they're fit animals. All of them, all three of them. Aaron, Kim, Pavel. They're fit guys, So, lots for me to do in the strength department in the future. Shooting went well. Time with the team went well. Afterwards, we had a meeting with Team-rappid for future plans for the brand and such. And we were given, all four athletes, the phone on which I'm recording right now, which is an iPhone 17 Pro. We were given these phones to essentially self-document ourselves every single day for the future, because Team-rappid will be producing vlog content for you guys for YouTube, but more on that some other time. This is my update from the weekend. I flew home to Warsaw on Tuesday in the morning. I drove from the airport immediately to my strength session with Marcin. Worked out for an hour and a half. Workout primarily centered around mobility, isometrics, and then upper body strength. Drove home, slept for 4 hours, woke up, ran 13 kilometers, went to bed. Now, on Wednesday, this past Wednesday, I missed my very first day of training since beginning this block. I was coming down with something. I felt ill. I had meetings in the morning and they were still fine. I felt pretty decent. After lunch, I ate something and I started to I was shivering and I was cold. So I figured I'd lay down for a few hours. I laid down. I woke up in the evening with the intention of taking care of my speed workout, but I felt disastrous. Told Alyssa, I told her I'll go outside and try to at least power hike. I tried. 10 minutes in, I turned around, walked home, uh, deleted the session off my watch and my Strava because I didn't consider it enough to count it as a training day. So I'd rather have a day, an empty day in my calendar to admit to myself that I missed a day, because effectively I did. Felt a little down about it, to be honest. That's the name of the game. You have to know when to push and when to pull back. So, reflections for yesterday's run. I will share this and then I will leave. During the first Q&A, I was asked by a lady, I believe, what it is I think about when I run. And I didn't do the question, I didn't answer it properly, mainly because I could have answered every question over the course of 20 minutes and then I would have, sat there for hours on end. And I don't think I have the mental fortitude to speak about complex topics in a concentrated manner over the span of a couple of hours. I just don't. But this reflection might be a glimpse into what it is that goes on inside my head while I run, if you're interested. I have here today's journal session, which was kind of a reflection of yesterday. And it's difficult to express in mere words and understandable vernacular, because all of it is so ethereal. I did mention that when I run, for me, the pursuit is of a creative essence, of a spiritual essence. Well, the primary lesson I take from yesterday's run is as follows. Running constitutes for me a medium through which I can engage with what I consider the spirit of my highest calling. This is partially my answer to the question of God in the first Q&A. And you see, the reason I say so is because I can feel a very drastic shift in texture of mind, texture of thoughts, when I run in comparison to when I'm active in everyday life. In Dear Basketball, Kobe Bryant speaks about how when he was little, he would be shooting imaginary game-winning shots in his backyard. A little kid with a ball with no crowd, and yet in his mind, in front of his mind's eye, he had seen what he would end up doing 20 years later. When I run, I am able to engage with the same energetic essence that made that possible for Kobe. Much like Kobe was imagining himself winning games with his shots years before it happening, throughout my races, throughout my training sessions on the same 4 kilometer loop every single day, I engage in very detailed, very specific, very intricate visions of the race in Texas. I imagine my competitors losing. I imagine how they lose. I imagine how they give up. I imagine specific scenarios as though I was watching a film. But in texture, they don't feel like mere projections. They feel familiar. They feel as though I've been granted access to memories of the future, memories of a. They feel as though I've been granted access to memories of a future past. If that makes sense. In each of these individual dreams and scenarios and visions, uh, they are always centered around a great fight, great sacrifice, almost a myth, really, a mythical battle. And it's important for me to engage with these visions regularly, because the only metric by which I can make them true, the only metric by which I can make them manifest, is through not only speaking them and seeing them, but feeling them. This is a lesson I learned from Chris Eubank Sr., a former world champion in boxing. I will read to you something right now. This is a direct quote, word for word, from Chris Eubank Sr. You know what? I'm going to be a fighter. You know what? I'm going to be world champion. I said it. Your spirit is listening to you. 10 years later, I was world champion. When I said it, I was feeling. When you feel, you see, what it is in life, you don't get what you want. If you say you want something, you don't get it. You get it if you feel it. This is the law of attraction in process. And as I say, 10 years later, I was world champion. Interestingly, the same parallel can be found in the Word of God. I know some of you, most of you perhaps, aren't at all religious, but just entertain this for a second. Just view it as a scientific observation. Is that correct? Hold on, give me a second. Give me 1 second, guys. Sorry. Yes. Is that correct? Yes. In Mark chapter 11, verse 24. Therefore I say to you, all things for which you pray and ask, believe that you have received them, and they will be granted to you. Here's how this relates to my visions mid-training. Many of you, I'm sure, will have already seen multiple greats, be that in art or sports or business or anything else. Many of you will have seen interviews, outtakes, movies, films, you will have read books about them in which there are passages where they speak a future into existence. Kanye West is a good example. I think years from now, Timothée Chalamet's most recent and large speech at the, I think it was BAFTA Awards, will also be a great example. But there are multiple characters that I could choose and substitute to paint this picture. It is not enough to simply say the correct words. It is not enough to simply use the correct vernacular. It is not enough to speak into existence the future which you so much desire if you don't feel the words that you are using. I was asked very often after the LSU, after Kim's victory, how it is that I know how to choose the correct words in such important moments. The metric by which I choose them is not of a cognitive essence. The metric by which I choose them is not of an intellectual essence. I say what I feel to Kim. I'm good at this because I know how to translate emotions into words quickly, precisely, intimately. When I had returned to Kim's camp after having DNF from the race and having been home at the Airbnb and having slept and then eating breakfast, when I returned to the location, when I returned to the camp and I officially made my first appearance in Kim's camp and crew as his quote-unquote coach, Kim was crying in his tent, and the very first thing I explained to him was that the reason he's crying and the reason he's so passionate about this is because precisely this, because he is so passionate, because he cares so much. The reason he's crying is not because he's in pain. The reason he's crying is not because he's afraid of losing. The reason he's in pain, the reason he was crying was primarily because he cared so much. All the other aspects and all the other realities came on top, of course. The fact that he, his reputation was on the line, his business was on the line, his future was on the line, his health was on the line. All these things were true. But primarily, the reason why he cried and the reason why he didn't give up immediately was because he cared so deeply, so aggressively almost. And the reason why me choosing those words in that moment translates over to him so well is because I feel the words that I'm saying. This is the most important ingredient when manifesting. You have to feel what you say. You can't just use words carelessly. If you are a wordsmith, or in other words, someone who is good at using language to their advantage, but the words you use, you have no intimate, ethereal, romantic, sexual almost connection with, it will not translate. This is also the reason why a good writer is not defined by good grammar. Some of the best writers are completely illiterate, are dyslexic, but they can communicate a feeling, an essence of soul. And that is what translates over when you use language. The same, I think, goes for the training in myself. Not only do I have to engage more often with the spirit of the highest calling with which I'm in contact with when I train, because he can take over my vessel and he can express through me and to me that which I don't have access to or that which I neglect in my everyday life outside of training. But also, if I want to bring about this win, I have to meditate on this idea very often. I have to return back into the frequency of creation and manifestation very often throughout my day. And I have to use whatever tools I have, but primarily language, to drive that fucker home for myself. But I have to use language that I feel exclusively, only language which I truly feel. I wrote in my Strava description yesterday, because I write small reflections onto my training in the Strava descriptions, and I wrote in yesterday's 16K easy run description on Strava, I already possess the complexity of soul, spirit, and mind. I already have the inherent ingredients, the necessary spiritual infrastructure. If I take care of my training diligently, patiently, silently, I will win. Keep course. The most fascinating aspect of the Last Man Standing ultramarathon format is that although it's an exceptionally physically challenging endeavor, probably the most accurate split between how much is determined physically and how much mentally and spiritually is approximately 30-70. The physicality is important and it will grant you the ability to go far. That is true. But the physicality is certainly the more minor aspect, the smaller ingredient which contributes to your victory. Physically, I know I can get there. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, really. The only thing standing in my way in this relationship is myself. But if I take care of my training passionately and diligently and curiously and silently, I will physically most certainly be there. I will be a problem. But this means nothing if I show up to race day without taking care of my spiritual constitution in the build-up of this prep. I must speak in prophecies, not merely in imaginations. I must speak in prophecies. I must speak things which not too long from now will be true. By this very standard, and according to definition, this is what is considered a prophecy. These are prophecies. And I know I can win. I know I can make this happen. And if I don't, it will be because the two main ingredients, which I am to take care of, which is my physicality, but primarily also my spirituality, I didn't take care of enough. This is the task. This is the mission. For this, I'm excited. I hope I made somewhat sense. I'm sure I might address these thoughts and feelings again later tonight when I record. Be that as it may, that's it for this recording. I have to get out and I have to run. 9 p.m. is approaching. Once again, thank you for your patience in waiting for me to return. I hope we can move forward with no interruptions. Please, as always, share your thoughts, share your feelings, share your feedback, particularly your feedback, what you think I can do better, what you think I can improve on, what you think I did well, in the comments or in private messages, as you wish. I'm open for both. And thank you. Talk soon. Much love.